Hey guys, we are in implicit memory. During the first 3 years of a child's life, their experiences have a tremendous effect on how they will view themselves and others, how they will act or behave, how they will respond emotionally and perhaps physically to events and relationships, and the kinds of generalizations they form from their experiences. Given the importance of this neurological phenomenon, it is a bit disconcerting that much of the memory we have of this time is implicit memory, experiences that greatly influence our responses to the world and those in it, but we cannot recall. In defining memory, Siegel makes what I consider one of the most profound statements in his book. Memory is more than what we can consciously recall about the events from the past. A broader definition is that memory is the way past events affect future function. And remember what he said about repeated experiences of terror and fear. They can be ingrained with the circuits of the brain as states of mind. What this means for adoptees is that the separation from the mother can be re-experienced as repeated patterns of responding to relationships as if everyone were going to leave them. Siegel offers these encouraging words, however. Knowing about implicit memory allows us the opportunity to free ourselves from the prison of the past. Okay, we're going to have to figure that part out. But as I was saying in my last video, right, and I was talking more towards the NICU experience, right, that when NICU babies are in these, chambers and they're separated from their mothers because of medical reasons, they too are experiencing this fear and terror, right? But then it gets eased when the mom comes to visit, right? That they can hear mom, that they can smell mom, that they can, feel mom's energy. The difference with adoptees is that we don't get that that relief, right? Our brains are then rewired completely to live in fear and terror. Now, we may not fully remember it, okay? Like, I had a really good childhood. I had a good adoption story. That's not bragging or anything. Like, that's just my story. However, there is a fear, okay? So I remember so many times, and like, it hits me now as an adult, but so many times I felt that fear of being abandoned. So, especially, weirdly, by my dad only. So, like, if we were walking down the street, or say, like, I think it was more middle school. So I went to school in New York City, and I went to a private school. Again, not bragging, this is just part of my story. And sometimes I would eat lunch in Central Park. And even though I knew my dad was at work, nowhere close to where my school was, there were times where I would see someone just like him. And I'd start to call out, "Dad, Dad, Dad," and they kept walking away. Now, in my head, okay. Two things are going in my head, technically, right? One is that fear of abandonment, that fear of, he doesn't hear me, he doesn't see me, all those things. The other part is, I know that can't be him because he should be at work, and that's not anywhere near where my school is. But that fear is still very real. Now, interestingly enough, I've only had this experience with towards my dad. And looking back on it, I wonder if it's because in my adoption, I've never had contact with my biological father. It's very complex. I have very complex feelings. But I wonder if that's part of it, right? Because I've been told things about him which end up being true, to say the least. But you still want the love of your father, right? You still want the love of that parent. And even though my adoptive dad has been amazing and loving and caring and everything, well, pretty much everything that you could ask for in a dad, it doesn't mean that you still don't have a longing, right? And so it's still those moments of fear of abandonment, right? And now as an adult and trying to navigate personal relationships, whether it's friendship or romantic, and you just feel like you feel unsafe, you feel you're going to be abandoned again, you feel like you're not good enough, things like that. And it hurts. It hurts, right? And it's our brains constantly living on fear. And then that tends to affect the rest of our body, right? Our body remembers. So I have extreme anxiety, I will admit. And with everything happening in the world, it's been amped up quite a bit, to say the least. But a lot of adoptees end up having chronic illness because of it, because our bodies are holding on to that fear and that, those feelings, and it's hard to let go. Anyway, that is just my rant. That is just a little bit of my story, and that's why I say when the last sentence says, knowing about implicit memory allows us the opportunity to free ourselves from the prison of the past. Even though I know this stuff, it's still very hard to navigate, right? And while I'm here for all of you, I'm also in my own journey of healing. I know that's a struggle because we're here together, and how each and every one of us heals is going to vary. But we're going to figure it out. We're definitely going to figure it out, because I don't want any of us to feel this constant pain anymore. Anyway, I hope you all have the great rest of your day, and I will see you guys next time for limbic regulation.